We can't say the future without AI. I mean, there's no way around it. 50% of workers now believe AI is going to improve their experience. When I come into the meeting room, I need a way to incorporate my AI with what's going on in the meeting. It's almost a bring your own AI type of a concept. Most of what we do in our day-to-day is going to change significantly.
Hear the latest AV trends and predictions in this episode of Crestron's Smarter Spaces podcast on your preferred podcast platform.
Just thinking like robotic snowblower. What could go wrong with that?
Nothing at all.
Yeah, well, you do have a robot butler named Mr. Butlatron.
Anyone for scones?
Why, creating a mechanical British servant is no more eccentric than that tie you're wearing.
Morty Wesley.
He calls everyone Wesley. Don't know why.
On this episode of ResiWeek, we talk streaming trends, snatching defeat from victory, and home robotics. All this and more on this episode of ResiWeek. This is ResiWeek, episode 471, Robotic Snowblowers. Welcome to this episode of ResiWeek. This is your weekly wrap-up of all the latest news and stories for the residential AV industry. I'm your host, Matty Scott for AVNation.tv, and this week I'm pleased to be joined by two of my good friends. First, we have Mr. Taft Stricklin. He's the dude at Just Add Power. How are you, sir?
I'm good.
Excellent. Thank you for being here. Then we have Mr. Mitchell Klein. He's the Vice President of Business Strategy over at CEDIA. How are you, sir?
I'm fabulous and great to be back with you guys again. And Taft, man, I haven't seen you forever. So glad to see you.
I know. We both got younger since I saw you last.
We have. That's true. Yeah. Your hair got longer and mine didn't. Just saying.
Yeah, there's that. I can help you with that. I own the hair club franchise. So.
Perfect. All right, gentlemen, we are going to kick this off with a quick nod from CE Pro. Registration has opened for InfoComm 2025. This is going to be taking place in June at the Orange County Convention Center in Orlando, Florida. Again, huge commercial and pro AV show. Taft, you guys always exhibit at this. I'm assuming you are exhibiting again. Are you excited for this show coming up now that registration has opened?
Yeah, I'm excited about it. It's a great show. The other day I had a dream, and I'm just going to throw this out while we're on with someone from CEDIA. I had a dream that they did an ISE show that was like the US, where it was InfoComm and CEDIA combined, like ISE. But it was in the United States, and it was once a year, and it was a glorious dream. But I'm excited about InfoComm.
I've had that dream as well, and I am hoping it comes to fruition at some point. Mitch, just before we move on, for residential integrators that maybe only moonlight in commercial, should they be seriously looking at attending InfoComm, or is it still something for those companies that are kind of split 50-50 from the residential view?
I would definitely put that in the mix. I mean, residential guys got a lot of shows and buying groups and things to attend. But as always, there's a lot of crossover on the product side. So certainly on the video companies, I'm guarantee you there's some resources you didn't know about. Same thing with the control companies. And I would definitely put it on my list.
That's a great point. All right, let's move on to our first main topic of the day. This comes to us from CE Pro, 4 emerging trends in home video streaming. This is coming from Parks Associates survey report thing. Cord nevers is becoming a rising segment. Those are people that have never subscribed to traditional traditional paid TV. Ad-based services are becoming more prevalent. Multi-device streaming is now the norm, and live sports continues to dominate. It's not included in here, but I just saw a report that Netflix might be going after CBS's and Fox's Sunday football games with that contract expiring in, I believe, 2029. Mitch, let me start with you on this. What is our role as residential integrators in the conversation around streaming? Is that something that we kind of just look at the network side, a little bit maybe of the distribution side, but leave the majority of that streaming conversation just to the client to deal with on their own?
Most definitely, we talk about streaming. So there's the streaming services, there's the streaming gaming, and this kind of leads to the conversation about the infrastructure that you're building in the home, whether you're not talking about upgrading to Wi-Fi 7 to enable much wider bandwidth and multi-stream. This is a very important conversation. And what's kind of fun is I was on a panel at CES, I think it was last year, and we were talking about different streaming services. And when you get to the end of the conversation, someone in the back kind of had a question, raises his hand, and it says, hey, with all of these different services, you've got Netflix and Apple and Amazon Prime, and you go on and on and on. He goes, why isn't there one service that can provide you all of that content? And I just kind of looked at him and just said, cable? I mean, so, all things old are new again, because you're going right back to where you were, that it's very confusing in people's homes. You need to have this conversation because you're the control people, you're the access people. Anything that doesn't work is going to be blamed on you, so you got to look at it holistically from every aspect, from not just what services that they're paying for, but also the infrastructure to enable it, which includes Wi-Fi, which includes, of course, hardwired as well.
Yeah, that's a great point. Taft, is the streaming conversation, has it completely changed the infrastructure conversation in the home? We're not seeing, again, the rack of cable boxes. What does this do to that infrastructure design aspect?
Well, I think when you get to really large scale luxury homes, they're still doing video distribution and they're still doing things the old school way. But I'm seeing large scale projects and bigger homes that are the customer is comfortable with an Apple TV. They've used an Apple TV. And the beauty of an Apple TV is I can say, I want to watch The Golden Girls, or I want to watch White Lotus, or I want to watch this. And it will actually search and find it for you through all the services. Prior to that, it was pull out your phone, Google who has, this series, who has that series, who has this movie, who has that movie. And so it'll search that for you and pull it up for you. We've just seen, those kind of everyday houses that got video distribution go more to a streaming platform. But we're still seeing the really large scale homes that want to do, above and beyond. They're doing video distribution. They may be doing an LED wall. They need to do video tiling. They want to do video wall, things like that, where they really need the additional infrastructure. But I will say your everyday project and even creeping up into what would be the entry level of the luxury homes, it's pretty much all streaming. It's easy. It's convenient. It works most of the time. And if the integrator does a great job on the network and they have a good provider for internet, I have fiber to my house and it's just always works and there's never an issue. And it's absolutely glorious. So I really think streaming is it's a big deal. So it's less kludgy.
Yeah, definitely. Is the ability of some of the apps, specifically from the sporting standpoint, I know up here we have a service called DAZN, and it lets you put 4 games on on the app on Apple TV, the way we used to have to do that with, again, the tiling that you mentioned. Is the not just the streaming, but is the actual platform base really coming after, I don't want to say our bread and butter, but some of those cooler feature sets that we used to do with hardware?
This is the race to zero with giant displays, right? So I can go and spend $1,000 and get a huge TV, and everybody wants to fill that screen. And all the streaming apps, I'm proud of these companies who are like, let's do something a little bit different, as versus just this or maybe a picture-in-picture feature. So I think that stuff is really, really, really cool, and I'm happy to see it as it progresses. I'm not really a sports ball fan at all, but sometimes I watch it. Like I watched the big football game that they had a couple of weeks ago.
The concert
Yeah,
that was
with
booked
Taylor.
by some football?
That was Taylor's boyfriend and the guys from Philadelphia. Yeah.
Well, most of Georgia, really.
Oh, really? Okay. All right. I don't know. Not an expert on sports ball.
You're fine.
But I'm happy to see the evolution. And I actually told my kids, and they didn't believe me when we talked about Netflix and then mailing a disc. And then who remembers using Netflix and you had to log on and you had to put movies or shows in your queue.
Mm-hmm.
And then you could only have X amount in your queue. And like, and my kids were like, that couldn't be true because you couldn't binge watch anything. And I'm like,
right.
Exactly.
Yep.
So,
that's a great point.
But it's just evolved a lot. And the fact now that I just use an Apple TV. I don't know what else is out there as far as services, but being able to like do a voice search and it pulls it up. And if it's on Amazon and it's on Hulu and it's on here and there and on Apple and it's going to tell me what it costs, or I can just stream it. That's really handy. And I felt like that was the missing link for a long time with streaming.
Yeah, and to your point, you can pull up multiple screens, and I think that's really important for all you cricket fans out there. I mean, according to that Parks article that we're talking about, cricket fans are more likely to watch multiple games at once. Can't imagine why. I mean, it's such an exciting sport. But anyway, just thought I'd pitch that in there.
I love it. All right, let's change topics for a second. This comes to us from Residential Systems and a good friend of the show, Mr. Henry Clifford, snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. Go read this article. As always, Henry wrote a really good, thought-provoking piece around a shotgun that he was looking to purchase. And it's something he's dreamed about for quite a while. Was, a couple $1,000s, went to get it, and it showed up in a cardboard box with very little presentation. He reached out to the company saying, hey, for $2,000, I would have expected a slightly better presentation of that box, especially considering the manual says to store it in its molded case, which they got rid of to be eco-friendly, we'll say. Definitely not to save any money. I'm sure that wasn't the thing. Long and short, as Henry wrote, they had an opportunity to kind of, make him feel better about that by just sending him a case rather than telling him where to buy it and that it was back ordered, et cetera, et cetera. It got him thinking about his business and where they're, not going over and above, shall we say. Taft, I want to come back to you on this. I love this article because it is one of those things where there's so many parts of our business that are exciting and evoke a lot of emotion, where I don't know if we always, in the channel, if we figured out that there are little things we can do that make a massive impact. And pre-show, we were talking kind of about how Apple was phenomenal with this. They made a good computer, they made a good phone, but what made the computer or the phone almost better was the fact that when you went and bought it, it came in this beautiful box, and you unboxed the thing, and it's an actual experience to go and pull all the the perfect pieces out of that box. Is this an issue that we have in the industry where we do such cool things, but we kind of miss that presentation factor that goes over the top?
Yeah. So first off, this article gives me a little bit of deja vu, PTSD. Spend $2,000 on a guitar, it ships to you, you open it, and it's in a cardboard box.
Yep.
It's exactly the same. That's all I could think about the entire time. But I think, customers expect a certain level, and they want that experience. I've been out on projects before. I've got an integrator I'm really close with, and no cardboard in the house. That's a rule. He was like, these things aren't things we take out of a cardboard box and install. So they'll show up, they'll have a staging area. It could be the front porch. It could be the garage. It could be something along those lines. And And cardboard boxes get really dirty as well. So it also practical makes sense. So that triggered in me an integrator telling me cardboard boxes don't go in the house. They never go in the house. We carry the product in. If it's a TV, if it's an AVR, if it's light dimmers, whatever it is, those boxes never come in the house. They get opened in a staging area. That staging area could also be in the back of the truck. Because if they're just carrying in a box and taking it out, you also have the mentality of your customer going, I probably could have bought that box for less. Or the other issue that he has been concerned about was he has brought stuff in before that he's bought from a distributor. Yeah. There's a label on it. The customer sees that. The customer's fairly well off. They own a business. Hey, I'm going to call these guys and buy some stuff for myself. So, we're all trying to figure out how to take it to the next level with knocking people's socks off. Whether it's a lighting demo or an immersive audio demo, shades, so much of that stuff is truly magic. And the idea that it just comes out of a cardboard box is just kind of makes it something you can just buy, as versus it being, the magic that an integrator brings. That's what triggered in me reading that article. So.
Yeah, the real question is, what's the leave behind? So now you've put in God knows how many hours of work and done this beautiful finished work, and then you just leave. What do you leave behind? Do you just leave a box with a bunch of manuals in it? Do you have a nice package? Do you have a nice loose leaf binder with details behind the systems and the subsystems? That speaks volumes as well. There's your cardboard box, Taft. Is leave something of value behind, which is that user manual that you create for that homeowner.
Yeah, is there something to, because again, it's something that we noticed when I started my company, is we had started with just the basic, like, hey, we're going to send you a quote. And it was just a paper quote, right? And then we went to the whole on larger projects where we had a full presentation thing that we did, whether it was digital or physical, and it was in a folder and it was pretty and it was glossy and all the things. And it had that, hey, this is us. This is why you chose us. Should we as an industry be trying to focus more on some of those bespoke, really tailored aspects of the business to, again, further separate what we do from, I don't want to say the other trades, but some of those competing industries that kind of play in our space?
Yeah. No question. That's your value. That's your value. That's your leave behind. That's that you've done something special, and that homeowner now knows they have something unique that they've gotten from you.
No, it is a great point. And I was on a large project with an integrator, and as I went to see it at the end, they had a photographer come in, and the homeowner said, we had a problem with every single company that did work on our project where they did something wrong, they did it incorrect, they broke something, they messed something up, they came to us more over budget, blah, 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 blah. Except for our lighting shade AV company. They just did what they said they were going to do, and the bill was the bill. Mm-hmm. And that spoke volumes to me, standing in a, 17,000 square foot house. And they were like, it's not like we don't like the other people, but these people stood out because they did exactly what they said they were going to do. And it was done. So that's the best leave behind.
Yeah, very much so. All right, gentlemen, let's hit our last story of the day. This comes to us from Residential Tech Today. New home robotics, the key to smarter, more efficient living. Go read through the article. They cover a ton of new and upcoming and even some significantly older robotic devices that are in the home, from automatic clothes washers to laundry folding robots to robotic lawnmowers, automatic litter boxes, one that's not on the list, but I just saw, which was a robotic automatic snowblower, which I was in favor of looking into with the snow we got this week. Smart kind of robotic overhead garage door openers, window coverings, etc. Mitch, I want to start with you on this. What is our role in this era of robotics that has moved beyond the Roomba?
I'm just thinking like robotic snowblower. What could go wrong with that? Nothing.
Nothing at all.
Anyway, so taking the long view, robotics are going to be a core component of an integrator's success. And I'm not talking about, the Roomba or a dishwasher, right? We're talking about whether it's robots that are going to help keep aging folks company. We're already seeing that. There's a product already shipping out called LEQ. I think it's ELLI-Q, and I'm having conversations with them. And the idea is just to really kind of address some of the loneliness that occurs as people start aging at home. But now there are a lot of single-use robots that we're talking about. And the point that's getting missed completely is that robot's going to tie in all of the aspects of what's going on in the home, all of the different sensors, all of the different appliances, all of the different entertainment devices. And somehow, right now, we're talking about control systems, whether it's one of your favorite brands, a Crestron or Control 4. But you know what? At some point in the not-too-distant future, and this stuff's moving really, really fast, those robotics are going to become a key component in keeping you safe, comfortable, well-fed. I mean, you name all the details. It's going to make you dinner. This is going to be important because the robots are going to interface with every aspect of your smart home.
That's an interesting point. Taft, the one thing that I keep coming back to is the security side of things, right? We've had countless conversations on the show around network security, putting things on your network, et cetera, et cetera. When we start, as Mitch says, looking at adding all of these different robotic things from a vast variety of manufacturers, how do we go about ensuring that, again, their network protocols are up to spec? And what onus do we as integrators actually put on that? Is that something that has to fall under us, or do we write those limited liability clauses and say, any robotic you bring in, we're not concerned with?
Yeah, it's a little worrisome. What just popped in my head is grandma sitting with a robot that's keeping her company, and then a scammer calls grandma's phone, wants her to transfer Bitcoin over, and the robot helps. So, that's it's scary. And as the world opens up more and more and more, and we become more reliant on these things, just if the internet goes out in a market, in a town or an area, and what a huge deal it is. But I think security on these things is going to have to be above and beyond, because you're going to have something that's powerful and it's helpful. It can do a lot of things, and it can do more damage than you realize. And then on that note, we had a Roomba, and the Roomba prepared me for having teenagers, because it vacuums like an angry teenager, just runs into stuff, and then we finally gave it away. Because I have angry teenagers that can vacuum. So
wait, you gave away the teenagers or the vacuum?
No, the Roomba.
The Roomba. Okay, got it.
We had to keep the teenagers, yeah.
Okay.
And
it had nothing to do with the mapping of your house with the Roomba.
No. It never got better. That is not a learning machine. It just banged into everything. And it one time did it in the middle of the night, and I woke up and was like, oh my God. And I turned the thing off and carried it out and put it in the garage. Which I'm sure somebody will do with their robot, whether it's whatever robot it is. But we are at that turning point where we're really starting to see these things come to fruition. At least we're seeing videos on the internet of these things coming to fruition. So.
That's the key. All right, gentlemen, we are going to leave it there. Thank you both so much for joining us. Taft, if people want to connect with you, learn more about Just Add Power, where can they do that?
Visit us at justaddpower.com, and we're on all the socials as well under Just Add Power. So come check us out, and we'll be at InfoComm in beautiful and sunny and humid Orlando in June.
Tell us more about how excited you are.
Can't wait.
Yep. Mitch, thank you for joining us. If people want to connect with you, learn more about CEDIA, where can they do that?
You can go to mklein@cedia.org. You can just go to cedia.org, or you can find me on LinkedIn. Either way, reach out. Happy to connect.
Excellent. Thank you both again for joining us. Thank you for joining us as well. If you'd like to connect with me, you can find me at Matt D. Scott on Twitter, X, most other social platforms. But more importantly, please visit AVNation.tv, where you'll find this show as well as a wide variety of other shows with all the verticals that we cover. When you visit the website, please take a moment to check out our supporters. We are extremely thankful for their support and ask that you check them out as well. Thanks again for watching. That's all the time we have for this episode of ResiWeek.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
Hello, this is Steve Greenblatt, host of AVNation's A State of Control podcast. Each month, Rich Fregosa and I explore trending topics related to control programming and automation in the audiovisual industry. We speak with a variety of AV professionals who share their perspectives, knowledge, and experiences. Please join us for this monthly conversation. Check out A State of Control on avnation.tv or wherever you get your podcasts.